Alright, what's up guys? It's Long Range Gear here. We have Dippin Diesel's NV5600 that he did some damage to. So we're going to do a teardown right now, see what's going on inside, okay? So Zach and Cameron are going to get to ripping it apart. Go ahead, boys.
These aren't this loose. Cameron already broke them off.
So some of you might notice we have a new table. This is actually the first 5600 we're tearing down on the new table, so we're going to see how well it works. Somehow we're going to have to stand this thing up.
Watch that 2x4. Keep my 2x4s. I think.
There we go.
Good enough.
So this 5600 came out of 2nd gen. He experienced some pretty significant issues. Then he realized he had no oil in it. Apparently hadn't driven the truck much. He's been working on it for quite some time. He stated on his YouTube that he checked the engine oil, but you know, most people don't think to check the oil in a manual gearbox or even the transfer case, and unfortunately this time it turned out pretty poorly, so we're gonna get him set up. He was able to drive this thing home and just kind of messing with it on the bench top. It may not be locked input to output. He may have had some other issues, but we're just speculating. However, we are about to find out.
Idler.
Maybe hook it to the top there, I guess. Well, there's some significant end play there, but appears to be an OEM shaft, but we'll confirm that. Broken loose.
Washer.
Well, those look okay.
Oh, it is an old style.
Oh, great.
Sweet. Let's try.
So an old style means it has these bumps on the synchronizer. Those bumps go in these grooves, just like this, and that's how the height of the synchronizer is established for this to get pressed down onto.
That's gonna come shooting out of you.
The unfortunate part is that these synchronizers and these gears are no longer reproduced. So he's going to get a couple extra new gears even if he didn't destroy them.
Slider. Fork.
Yeah, these old style transmissions have weird teeth on them. I don't know.
You want to go ahead and take off? Yeah. Take the 13, take the slide out.
This is interesting so far. So normally when they're ran low on oil, this is the bearing defect. Typically. This is the first thing that fails, and it can sometimes crack the case. I'm not seeing any signs of that, and that bearing is still spinning. It kind of gets to this weird... So Cameron is removing the remaining bell housing bolts. You saw Zach do the inside when we first started. So there's 5 bolts on the outside that Zach's got to finish, or Cameron's got to finish taking off. While he does that, Zach's removing.
Hitting himself.
Zach's hitting himself. Hope my insurance company's not watching. Like the most stubborn roll pin in the history of roll pins. Okay, so they already removed the detent plug and the shifter anchor. Now Zach's going to install the hangers. We have ourselves a new electric hoist.
Not as loud.
Not quite as loud. Hopefully it's a little bit more pleasant for the YouTubes.
Headphone users.
Yeah, headphone users. The unfortunate part though is that it doesn't move very slowly. So hopefully it's not too jerky. Fancy. That one being a pain?
Filled with a bunch of gunk.
Yeah. Sometimes. Well, it had some oil in it because some came spilling out. Caught something. All right.
I got it.
Interesting. So, if you can look down at your transmission and see these little square windows through your 6th gear, you have an old style transmission. That's one way to tell. It's kind of hard to tell. Usually you got to do it with an endoscope. I'm not seeing any chipped teeth initially. Not seeing anything crazy out of place or
Something
screwed
definitely
up.
ate something inside the case.
Yeah, there's some metal flakage, but that's up here around the 5/6 hub, so if it's welded itself together, it's going to be inside here, which would make sense that flakes were coming out. So it's always fun to speculate during the process. How does it look inside the case?
Oh, there's some metal from
Chunkies?
bearing.
Oh.
Bearing or something.
kind of hard to see on the camera.
I'm gonna go clean up the bell housing. No, not that.
It's kind of hard to see. There we go.
That's my one I'm missing.
Yeah, there's little chunks of metal. Something cool happened. Yeah, nothing crazy's popping out at us. Can't wait to see that main shaft pilot bearing. Okay, so Zach has the 5.6 crossover removed. The input shaft in there. Everything looks a little dark, but so we got the clamps on to hold it together. I'm gonna raise this up. You want to grab the stand? Zach's removing the shift rails. There we go. Yeah, we really like our new table. It's got so much more room. Makes everything so much nicer. So we know right off the bat it needs an input shaft. The input shaft is pretty chewed up. Because it's an old style, it would need a new input shaft anyway, because the old style is no longer reproduced. You can use a shim, not my favorite thing to do. He will need a new third gear, a new fourth gear, a new input shaft in sixth gear if you were doing this at home, and a new reverse. First and second, although they are the older design, they have an inner synchronizer, and because of the way that design works, you actually don't need to replace those if they're old style. New bearings will work just fine with them. Alright, let's see what happens between these two. Could either be carnage or maybe not. So this is what I was speculating on his channel. Sure enough. Yep. That whole thing came apart. So it probably seized at some point. Oof. So it probably seized, and then it was probably broken loose at some point. Yeah, look at all that. There's like chunks, chunks of the bearing in the cage or down inside. It's pretty wild. Yeah, you can see that. Sorry guys, yeah, that bearing definitely locked up hard. Poor input shaft, but because of the end here, it needed a new one anyway, at a minimum. So this is third gear right here. This is fourth gear. Fourth gear feels a little chunky. And then this is fifth gear countershaft gear, and this is sixth gear countershaft gear. exact press off. Second gear is on the bottom, the 1-2 hub, first gear, and the first gear bearing, and all the small parts all together. There's a snap ring, he's already removed that, it went flying. This is a nice USA Timken bearing, so this is likely an untouched transmission. So normally when you have a low oil failure, all of this is destroyed. Everything that I'm touching right now is typically destroyed. So believe it or not, I did kind of get lucky. I even bought a new case. That's his transfer case too, but I even bought a new case just anticipating the typical low oil failure because I wanted this to be a quick turnaround. First gear seems alright. We will replace these sliders. I really don't like the way the teeth look for these old style ones. I mean, they work fine. I just, for longevity's sake, I'll replace all of them. Yeah, you can see when this discoloration inside, this was starting to get hot. This would have failed eventually had the main shaft power bearing not seized. Hubs are good. These are starting to get toasty. Yeah, everything's getting black. Those may or may not clean up, I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. Second gear looks like it was okay.
Splines and the bearing surface.
Huh. So this was the failure. Trying to turn on a light here. Those splines are looking pretty rough, that's for sure. Yeah, sorry. And then, yeah, this main shaft's going to be ruined. So, he'll get himself a new main. Looks like new main shaft, input shaft, handful of gears. We'll be able to reuse some of them. Here is what is left of the main shaft pilot bearing after the seizure / failure. 5/6 hub. Yeah, that'll probably clean up. It's just dirty metal flakes everywhere. Yeah, I see that the oil was turning into like a varnish. Takes a lot of heat to do that. Old styles. And so some people ask why we weld our gears. We do 6th, and then depending on the power level, we do input 3 and 4. These welds are pretty dinky. This is a very small diameter. Crazy. So we'll actually end up cutting the end off of this main shaft. So what we do is we'll cut the end off, we turn it on the lathe to clean it up, and this will actually be a nice weighted shift knob that we'll send back with him. It really makes these shift nice with a weighted shift knob. So here's the 5th countershaft gear, and any gear besides 5th, this is being driven by the input shaft. So this is a very, very, very high impact. This sees a lot of abuse and a lot of use. It's pretty much constantly being driven. The input shaft, this, and the 2/6 gears are the most beat up components in this transmission. So I am happy to see that it has a oil diverter here. So, wow, I didn't notice that. Look how this oil was turned into sludge and varnish. shift rails seem to be okay. I do have spares of these in case we get them cleaned up and they're not. 1-2 fork, that one feels okay. The 3-4 fork. Reverse fork, yeah, all the forks seem okay. Really glad the case made it. That's awesome. So Zach is finishing up carrying down the counter, and we'll see what's going on with that. It's kind of weird. It just hung up there.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's being stubborn.
Factory shaft.
Yeah, I heard how hard it snapped, so it has really good fitment.
We're good.
So sometimes when we have to hit these with a ton of force, like Zach had to, you might have heard it in the background, it went pop. Sometimes the teeth can chip on the arbor blade, and in which case we have to replace them. It doesn't look like this one did, which is cool. So this is the 6 counter shaft here. So this big gear is what drives the little gear on the main. So he's pressed those off individually, those from the giant spline sections, and now he's going to press off the 3-4 like assembly. I guess you can call it a cluster. Ready? Zach's making some side-to-side adjustments real quick. Maybe. Is it not grabbing?
I guess that's as far over this way as it goes.
Interesting.
Yep.
So, fun fact, these counter shafts are apparently have been stopped produced by everybody and their mom. Seemingly all at the same time. Nobody seems to carry them. They're all backordered everywhere, so it's super unfortunate. If you're out there and you have a counter shaft, I would love to buy it from you. So, 4th gear here. It's in okay shape. Unfortunately, it's the old style. 4th gear race is good. Hub's good. Can you separate those? They're like glued together. Sometimes when they're oil saturated, they get locked together. Seems like, man, this is way better shape than I thought it was all going to be, and I expected some pretty wicked carnage, but just goes to show you how tough these things are. So this is an early style, so this is a metal 1st gear washer, and sometimes, or I'm sorry, 3rd gear washer, so sometimes they get locked on there real good. This one appears to be. I don't see any chips initially on the counter shaft, so I think this will be a good one. Glad to see that. How's the snout there? A little bit of wear, but not too bad. This thing's really filthy. Alright, Zach, could you grab a new input shaft so we can do a comparison? So, this is an 1 3/8 input, and the old style. So again, it's got these same slots on it. So this is a new input. This is what we're going to set them up with. Same size, his existing clutch will work. I think he's going to try to get a new one, but you can see the difference. And there's no windows right here, whereas this one has windows. Cameron, could you, or Zach, if you're back there, could you also grab a new synchronizer from the bag? Okay, Cameron, could you hold these up so I can show people? Alright, so this old style one, again, because it has these little nubbins, they fit in these grooves. That's how the synchronizer height is set. The problem is you can see these wear down. These are supposed to be round, but they're flat, and so this it wears these prematurely, like really fast. This will wear out even before the friction material is gone. This is a new synchronizer that doesn't have that. And instead, it has this raised ridge that this one doesn't have. And that's what sets the height of the synchronizer. There's less to wear out, so this style will last much longer. See, it's set to the height by this little ridge there. So this is a new style input. This is what we're gonna install this exact one into his truck and get rid of this thing. Obviously, we'll have a new bearing. But yeah, this was his big failure. And here's a new gear. Zach's starting to pull new parts already. So this is a new third gear. We really like them. This is from Zimbrota. This is probably our favorite set of gears. We also really like Proactive. We use both of them a ton. One's an AT stamp. So, and then a new reverse gear. And they all have this new synchronizer design. So every one of our builds gets a new reverse gear and a new 6th gear. But yeah, that's the new style. This works much better. Very smooth shifting. Thank you, Cameron. And nice new inputs are always cool. So yeah, Dippin Diesel, we're gonna get you set up, fixed up, rebuilt her real quick, and sent out in the next couple days, and get your truck back on the road. So Long Range Gear, signing out.